I run a practice called Studio Code. I run it with two friends. We were all in architecture school together actually. And then we all got different master's degrees. We worked for about 9-10 years. I worked in the US with a company which did a lot of sustainable skyscrapers. And then with a landscape architecture firm. Although my master's degree is actually in communication design, undergrad in architecture. So the firm that I have, that I run with my two friends, we do architecture, interior design, urban design, and communication design. So we like to think of ourselves as a one-stop design shop. But so we have very strong opinions about everything, and we like to look at every project very uniquely. We don't have a style. We pride ourselves on not having a style because we look at every client, every site, every requirement, and then come up with the thing. And we do a lot of charretting, a lot of brainstorming. It's a very democratic office. The ideas can come from anywhere, and we like to have fun with our work.
This conference is all about smart design and smart architecture. What is smart design and smart technologies to you? And how are you contributing that to your practice?
Smart to me really means efficient in some ways in terms of paring out wastefulness. So paring out extraneous, I won't say luxuries, but paring out extraneous design requirements in some senses, or really focusing it to be on what you need as well as with what you want, and also in being smart about how you use your materials. In our project, we like to look at that pretty carefully. We like to see how things pair together. We like to see where they come from. We like to see if they can be reused. So some of the projects that I showed at the panel, we like to see if everything can have a second life, honestly. We're fairly parsimonious about that. So the first project was about the Ballarpur township. Actually, they make paper, and they have 7 paper plants already. They're building 2 more, and we redesigned the housing for that township. And there we looked at all of the waste powder white material. It's actually like this huge landfill of White Mountain, which they put a meter of soil over, and then they grow trees in. And so, it's not like going everywhere. But our plan and hope, because it's still underway, is to compact all of that, stabilize it in some way, and use those as building blocks for the, for the buildings themselves that will come up. We also talked about a project in Bombay. We're doing a house which the clients, we fully gut renovated it, and we used as many parts of it as we possibly could, including the stone, reusing it in parts of it. We made the building stronger, of course, because it was just by the sea. I also talked about a building with a laterite face, which was in Calcutta. I think it was going to be a hospital or a hostel of some sort, and we changed it. We gave it a second life by making it a budget hotel. And we had to create a new facade for it as well, which we used the laterite stone from around the site, which is very prevalent there. And again, we looked at compacting it into a very thin facade structure, and we worked with our engineers to figure out how that facade would hold and attach to the older structure. So it had a new look as well, even though the building had been around for a long time. And then we regularly work with craftsmen and weavers to fabricate lights, to fabricate furniture. We've used, one of the pictures was of a conference table we've done for Clove Dental. It's a 350-year-old piece of wood, and we thought it was so beautiful we didn't want to do anything to it, so we've put a glass top which doesn't quite touch it, but you see it, you appreciate the whorls and the knots in it, and you see the shape for what it is. So we like to do that as much as we can within our projects.
Given that you've been in the practice for quite a while now, so you've seen this shift that has happened over the past 5 years. I think it was a very strong shift. How do you feel like, where can you see this shift the most when it comes to smart design?
I think there are a lot of new technologies that are around, but I do feel that because many of them are not tried and tested, it needs the right client to be able to try it out on a project. And really, I think any good project just needs a good client who's willing to either experiment a little bit with the new technology or a new material. So I do feel that in India we still need to think about things a little bit more and be more open to things which can be done a bit differently. I thought some of the examples Professor Mathur showed of fully disassembling buildings and then giving them a new life. Adaptive reuse, I feel, needs to be looked at much more closely over here, especially using new technology rather than just abandoning a building. I think there is a scope for a lot more, but I think there's also a lot of great work which is happening which is not reported, and I think that would be very nice for you guys to cover, perhaps. And a lot of things even going in smaller cities, smaller villages, where budgets are constrained, but therefore imagination is not. And there's a lot of really great work happening, which I think we should know more about.
you've worked and studied in the US, you've spent a lot of time in the US, and you are Indian. How do you feel, what can smart design contribute with respect to Indian architecture and Indian vernacular architecture?
I think part of it is embracing what we have here and not looking to the west or further east. Further east, I think, shares a lot more in common, especially because of our climatic conditions. You know, they're so different, and our choice of colors, our choice of palettes, our choice of texture. I think that's one of the things I missed the most when I was living in New York. So in defiance, my first winter, I went and got a red coat because I was like, I'm not wearing black. And now here I am, all in black. But I think we have to figure what we have here, work on reinventing that in a new way. And so that's also something we try to think of, like what is traditional and how can you innovate on that to give it a new life. And then it's still relevant to you rather than importing it to something else from somewhere else and then trying to make it fit your lifestyle or your climatic conditions or your clothing choices. Or
can you tell us a bit about how you feel about this conference and what do you think how it's gonna affect the future generations?
I think it's great that you guys are doing this. I've loved the topics actually that you've chosen. They're very thought-provoking and they're very unusual and some a little bit uncomfortable, which is excellent because it really gets you talking. I know this is the first time you guys are doing this. I'm looking forward to this all the time, and I think someone mentioned you probably going to do maybe smaller events also off and on. I think that would be great. But I think if Arch Daily covers a lot more projects which are here or sort of even encourages the use of local materials or local technology or traditional technology to create something new, and that was covered more. And I think that would be more of an impetus also here. I think though there has been a little bit more of that embracing of the vernacular, say graffiti and street art has seen a huge resurgence here, which has been tremendous and fantastic. I have a lot of hope for this future generation and what they're going to do.